Oh, something's going on with everything. Let's see.
We're live.
All of a sudden,
We're live, Joe.
We're live, Joe.
yeah, on my end. What? Hey, so all right, so we had a little bit of technical difficulties, but everything is good. I'm gonna go ahead and start the show like this. That
Now
guy
we're losing
down in
Joe.
the bottom is responsible for some of us having a wonderful ahead and if we can't just get this to work, let's go ahead and just start.
Oh boy.
I
Joe, your connection is bad, Joe. Your connection is bad,
yeah,
Joe.
let's see. I don't know why this is happening. I had great connection. All right, you guys can talk. I'm going to try to find you guys would be you.
You're muted, Joe.
All right, Joe is having a little mental technical difficulties today, as well as
You're muted.
computer technical difficulties. So I think maybe Lee and I will take over the show. Joe,
What's up, everybody?
Welcome to Podcast Rock City. I'm Joey, your host. Thank God. Right above me is the one and only Goddess of Thunder, Lee.
Hey,
I
everybody.
say hi, Lee.
Hello.
And we have a very, very special guest tonight. The man responsible for the Kiss Army.
It's him.
Welcome,
He's
Mr. Bill Starkey.
He did it.
So, Bill, I know it's been a few minutes to try to get everyone connected here. We're finally together.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being on. It's an honor.
I'm flattered.
Thanks,
This
Bill.
is great. This is great. Hi, Lee.
So obviously we'll go back to the beginnings of your story I can't imagine anyone doesn't know your story by now, but we will talk about the beginnings. But let's start at the end. Were you at the show the other night?
Yeah, it was fabulous.
Amazing.
Paul called me, pointed me out during the sound check and during the concert. It was pretty cool, twice in one night. So
What?
yeah.
What did he say?
Well, I mean, you can find it on my Facebook. You should
Okay.
be able to find it on other people's Facebooks. People have been kind enough to send me their copies. Well, you know, when they do the Q&A during the sound check, it's not that I plant people in the audience, but somebody came up and said, you know, tell us about the Kiss Army. And when he gets up there and he starts telling like the first few lines about it, and he says, this guy and his name was, and before he could get it out, I yell, Bill Starkey. And other people did it with me. And he pointed, he says, he's here. And he called me an icon. And then the funny thing towards the end, after he told the Kiss Army story, the Kiss version, he said, I still can't believe you're here, or something like that. And then it was funny. So I don't know why he didn't expect me to hear, maybe because I just don't in there. And then during the show, he gave a real cool speech, and he just knows how to play the audience. And you're in Indiana, so what a better way to remind people of their roots. So yeah, it was cool to get for him to mention me 2 times. So
I got to ask you, do they roll out the red carpet for you? Because if they don't, they should.
Yes, you should have been VIP, baby.
I don't know if they do that for anybody. I think the only thing they do that for is people that pay for those things. And that's understandable because it's the way things are going. There's only a few more shows left. I don't know if anybody I bet if Ace and Peter walked in there, they would get any more perks than anybody else.
I think you're.
That has nothing to do with disputes. I'm just saying I'm not sure that anybody gets what you might call the red carpet treatment, unless that's an option to pay for it. Did you get the red carpet VIP or did you get the, and it just so happened he pointed me out twice in one day, and he's great. It's great.
No, obviously that's an honor to have him point you out. But I do think, especially now that they're, in their little final run here, I think they would have given you more than you think they would have, to reminisce and to honor you and to make, your send off, just as well as their send off, something to remember. I think maybe you should have gone over and above and contacted them early and made sure they knew you were going to be there. And I think they would have done more than you think.
Well, I'll let you in on a little secret. Somebody did tell them. I know the day before, or not. I mean, maybe not the day before. Yeah, I think a friend. I knew that a guy was going to take me to the show, and I was his guest, and he wanted to do a thing where a plaque was made, and for the band to present me a plaque on stage, either during a sound check or whenever. And he gave them the plaque early in the morning. And I think he even talked to Doc McGee about it. And Doc came over like sometime during the middle of the sound check and shook my hand. But I never was awarded any plaque, but I was mentioned. And I really think that because there's so much stuff going up on that stage, the pyro and the trap door with the piano and everything, I really think for safety reasons, and we're living in such a litigious society that for safety reasons, nobody's going up on that stage. I don't care if you're the president or whoever, and they're going to get an award. Nobody's going to go up on that stage. I mean,
you could be right.
But I look at it that way. It's probably a safe thing. And, there's a big space between where Paul is and the stage and the pit and all that. So, I mean, I'm quite content to get called out twice in one day.
That is wonderful.
Yeah, it once was enough. But you guys, I mean, I have been given so much attention for many years. I've been on 4 VH1 specials and with Willie even. And and I'm in both history books. After the sound check yesterday, a guy came and got me, and I guess I might as well tell you guys, they're filming this, and he's doing a documentary, and I don't know the guy's name off the top of my head, but he was he did the A&E thing. He introduced himself and said, can you got some time, let's go back, and I'd like to interview for this thing. And so we went to the back of the arena after the sound check was over, and they had pushed everybody out but us, and he had the sound crew people turn the music down so that he could hear me, put a mic on me, and then we talked about my involvement and basically what happened with the KISS Army. And it was kind of cool to get in that. I hopefully might be in this documentary as well.
That's great. That sounds exciting.
Yeah.
How do you feel about, obviously, with they're ending now, and the end of the road, whatever that means, is less than a week away. What's your feelings about it?
Very melancholy. I several people told me that I took several pictures before and during the show and all that. Many people complained and said, well, you weren't smiling. I just had mixed feelings about all that. I mean, KISS put on a phenomenal show, and I think, was it maybe because they had a 4 or 5 day rest? I don't know, because 24 hours before the show, I really didn't think it was going to happen, because I really couldn't see Paul recovering. And he got up and he said during the beginning of the sound check, he goes, it's good to be upright for a change. And he sounded great. And like I said, and those was probably the best seats I've ever had at any rock concert. This guy set me up really good. I was in the second row, center stage.
Sweet.
And things are so visual with KISS now. We used to always hope that, or wondered why KISS didn't do videos and all that, because they were such a visual band. But now this concert, the way things are set up, everything's so visual. I mean, they're playing something from Rock and Roll Over, and you see the huge Rock and Roll Over symbol behind them.
Yes.
The visuals are just really amazing. And of course, the pyros and all that they're great too. but just the lights, the colors, and everything. I mean, I caught myself many times just watching the backdrops instead of the band, and or taking pictures myself because, and like I said, it's the weird thing is what there's only 4 more shows left. Chicago, Baltimore, and it's the other thing that makes me sad is it's like, man, you guys really got it together right now, and there's only 4 more to go, and then what? Because it's just like I hate for other people. I hate for other people not to be able to see what I saw, and some may say they had seen it, but that's what's weird. It's like it's like a football team that's on a winning streak, and you don't get into the playoffs to show what you've accomplished because it stops. I mean, that's the only way I can describe it. But so good luck to those people in Baltimore, Chicago, and a matter of fact, the gentleman that set me up for the indie show, he's got tickets for the second show in New York City. And I'll be curious to see what his analysis is of. But I think he had as good a time as I did. So, I mean, it's just it's a melancholy feeling for me. I mean, I know some people over Thanksgiving dinner, you get in those typical arguments where one of your relatives says, "Oh, don't believe that crap. They'll be back next year and all this stuff."
They'll do another farewell tour.
Yeah, I said I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I don't either.
I don't think so either. I think that they're, as far as a touring entity and an itinerary, that kind of stuff, that's over. I'm not saying they wouldn't play a Vegas residency or something like that.
Yeah, one off.
But hey, Joe, you guys probably know more about the band than I do because I'm just a fan like everybody else. I'm just basing what I have is just assumptions, But I think they're done.
I do too. I think Kiss with Makeup performing live is done as we know it.
Yeah,
that's what I believe.
And it's going to end in New York where it should end. And why would you change that?
Bill, what's your take on whether it happens or doesn't happen? Any involvement with Peter and or Ace?
I wished it would happen no matter what. I also, and they may strike me dead for saying this, but I wanted them to play during the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame thing. Whether, I know it was risky and you don't know what Peter and Ace are going to do. And no, they're not Tommy and Eric, but I would have given it a shot. I mean, I'm a fan. What I go by is how the Unplugged thing went when they were all together. And I thought that was one of the most magical moments in history. And I was hoping, but I'll admit, I saw Ace a while back, and he didn't live up to what I would hope he would have been. So, I can understand Paul's reservations and Gene's as well, because you don't know what you're going to get. And Peter's, from what I gather, Peter's very happy right now, and that's great. And he may not even need it, but as us fans, I think we'd like to see it, like a best of. I was in line with Bruce's guitar tech for most of the line, Don St. Baker. And I was teasing him. I said, "Hey, what's Bruce doing?" And he says, "I'll tell you right now, Bruce doesn't play in those shows either." And I thought, really?
Okay, nobody.
And he says, "I'm his tech, so,
He would know. I mean,
it's funny. Bruce just posted today. I saw someone ask him. Bruce made a Facebook post today about something about 80s Bruce saying hello, and someone asked, "Are you going to be at the December 2nd show?" And Bruce, who's usually not very public when he talks, about inside stuff, said, "No, I have not been asked."
Yeah.
Not even asked. Wow.
But I will say this much, guys. If they see the same show that I saw last night, that's a great way to end it, man. Right. I mean, I went there very skeptical because you hear all the rumors about, are they playing live and all this stuff. And I'm telling you, sure looked pretty damn good to me. They're playing live. I mean, there was a time when Paul cut his finger, and that was pretty bizarre. Like, I'd never seen that. Of course, I'd never been this close at the show. And I know there were mistakes. There was a little bit of sloppiness, but I prefer that in my metal bands, Right. And the Indie Star guy that wrote the article, the review this morning he was fair. He admitted he wasn't a fan, and he was only 35 years old, but he says, I get it, and I might disagree with some of his statements where he would say he didn't think the Kiss's catalog was strong enough to compared to other bands of their era. Again, I'd argue with him that too, because
Yes.
that's what the Kiss Army was about the music. We wanted the music on the radio. We thought their music was as comparable as anybody else's.
Yeah.
But the review was fair. He said, he goes, I can see why I get it now. He said, so I mean, he did. And here was the weirdest statement. He said something about this wasn't the best show I had seen all year in Indy, but it will be one of the ones I remember the most, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's what Kiss wants you to do, right? Kiss
Yeah.
wants you to remember them, good or bad. They want to know
Yeah.
that they made an impression on you.
He didn't say that was the great musicianship or whatever, but everything else, the rapport with the audience, you can't knock them for their effort. I mean, I shake my head thinking when I see Gene and them guys get on those pod things and fly around the arena, I'm like, I
Yeah.
just don't get it, man. I mean, I know they're very careful, but I sure would be careful because I mean, at my age, you just don't do that kind of stuff. So when I watch them do that stuff, I just shake my head and go, wow, 70 years old.
Cherry pickers and all that.
The cherry pickers and
Yeah.
and-
Amazing.
yeah, I mean, and they just go all around the place, and you don't know if those things are going to work.
Wow.
You
What
know,
was
I
the
mean-
sound check like?
How's the what?
I've never been to a sound check. Was that pretty cool?
Well, and here's what's cool about it. For all those people that say they're not playing live, they need to come to the sound check.
Right.
Just by God, they are, and I would be fine with it. I mean, if they would just play the sound check that way, the whole damn show. I don't need the pyro. I mean, the visuals are great, but like I said, one of my favorite Kiss shows was in the '90s when they did the convention stuff when they were all unplugged. Because then I heard a different version of Kiss stuff. So, yeah, the sound check was fun. I mean, yes, they played pretty much a scripted sound check thing, but I like the way they do it, and they're into it. The Q&A wasn't as long as I would have preferred, but hey, I was in it, so I mean, how can I complain?
Right. You had a shout out.
I got so, but I tell you, I just because you read a lot of crap and you're just thinking, okay, I'll go to this objectively. Let me see, because I don't have any skin in the game. I mean, I'm not getting tickets from them or anything, or red carpets or anything, and it's fine. So I saw it for myself, and it was great.
They do some real deep cuts.
No, you're gonna get the stuff. You're gonna get. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Say Yeah, and I'm not a real big fan of Psycho Circus. Well, and that's for Joe then. But those songs are going to be in there, and I just if you don't like those songs, the visuals are still great that they're going to get you through the songs.
Right.
Okay, and Paul's banter between like when he'll talk before he plays Deuce, and he'll say, here's something we did many years ago, and it's off the first album, and that kind of stuff, or
yeah,
this is it's like he's giving you the history of the band right there, in as few songs as many songs as they can fit into the schedule. So I was very happy with what I saw. Like I said, it was a melancholy thing, but if they're going to go out, I don't think anybody left Gamebridge last night, and I didn't see any empty seats. I don't think anybody left. Like Paul says at the end, did you get what you paid for, or whatever?
Yeah. Yes.
Or something like that. And that's well put. And if they follow this through with Baltimore, Chicago, and New York, what a great way to just leave. I mean,
good.
What can anybody say?
Joe, you're back.
So you
Joe.
guys, yeah, thank you guys hear me
Joe's
and
back.
see me fine.
Yes, you're back.
Good Lord, that was really weird. It's like
What happened,
everything crashed at one time. Okay, so the good news is you guys can keep doing the show if that happens. Bill, thank you for being here. You and I have spent time together. We've actually, you and I were in Indy, and we shot a little 30-minute documentary together called Makeup of an Army, where you told your story. You guys that are watching this live right now, I'm going to make sure I post that on Facebook. So you guys can check that out.
It's on my YouTube channel too. I got a
Awesome.
YouTube thing, and one of my favorite things you put together, very professional, and
thank you very much.
Yeah, so check out my podcast stuff, because I try to include everything I can in there. As long as you do this stuff on YouTube, I can put it on my YouTube as well and add to the
Awesome.
Add to the thing where Gene and Tony Tennille are talking about me, odd stuff like that.
That's weird.
That's
Okay, so
weird.
here's a question. I was trying to follow along while I was troubleshooting. How about your emotions? Did you tear up at all? Did you end of the show's happening? Did you get like? Do you? I mean, for you know what I'm saying. Was it like? Did it well up inside of you? This is the end.
Like the
Well-
reunion. I cried at the reunion.
No, I didn't because it was, you see snippets of what you're going to see at the end of the show on other people's YouTube. And at the end, when the lights came out, I had fans coming up to me, people that I didn't even know were there, like Nico from Strike Force, who I knew, but I never had met. And then Russell Daneker came up to me, and there was like guys I didn't know that were there in the audience. And they said, "Oh man, I got a copy of when Paul talks about you or whatever." And we were all just kind of yapping and walking out of the room, because then they were forcing us out of there like crazy. We weren't allowed to hang around any longer than 10 minutes or so, and they just started pushing us out the exits.
Oh.
So I can't say that I got emotional about it. I mean, because the guy I'm with, he's going to see him in New York, so maybe that'll be his deal, because
Yeah.
you get to see him then.
So, all right. So let me ask you this: you're sitting in there, you see the Kiss Army logo. Of course, when you walk in, it's there. I mean, I can only imagine the kinds of flashbacks you must have to, like, I know that you told me one point that when all this blew up for you, you actually sat backstage and talked with them out of makeup in the 70s and just had a conversation backstage. And I remembered you saying, it felt very surreal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because in 75, we didn't have, they hid their identity very well. I mean, there was this macabreness or some mysteriousness about them, that the only person that really talked was Paul. And, in real life, Paul sounds nothing like the stage persona. So, I'm sitting in a Chinese restaurant, eating pizza, not Chinese food, with Gene and Paul. And the guys at Rush are up in the bar.
Oh.
Ace and Peter are playing pool behind us. And they were just being really nice to me. They were entertaining me. And Gene said something funny. He goes, we're not all buttholes in the music industry. And I think that was in reference that he saw me kind of get a little ticked off when I was at the radio station with Rich Dickerson and I going back and forth. But, Rich was just being Rich and spicing up the moment. And I wasn't upset or anything like that. And then you're thinking, here you get your time with Kiss. What do you saw? The first thing Jay and I said was, or asked us, "Hey, what's the second line in Deuce?" I mean, like, what the hell? It's like Wayne and Garth, and he goes, I mean, that was what the first. And then with Paul, I think I asked him about what his hobbies were or something. At that time, he said he was collecting antiques. And then I asked him. I asked him what happened to the Firebird guitar on Kiss Alive, because I never saw it anymore. And he told me it was broken in the studio. Oh. That's how weird we were when you're 18. You just talking with Kiss. You don't know, what are you going to say to them?
Right. What do you ask? Right.
And then when they come into the room, they're all on platforms. So the only one you really could recognize is Peter, because he's that size, and everybody else has this everybody had jet black hair, ratted out like you wouldn't believe. So it was kind of hard for me to tell a lot of them apart until you got closer to Ace and saw his hair was a little bit different than Gene's and Paul's, but it was weird. And I have friends that I still talk to this day that were in another after party with me, and he said that was one of the coolest times of my life, was sitting in an after party talking to Kiss without their makeup off, because you just didn't do that. And people always ask me, well, why didn't you have a camera back then? And I'm like, because it was respect. You knew you were being allowed to do something, so why would you mess up a good thing?
Right.
You know, I didn't. I
Absolutely.
unfortunately didn't carry a lot of cameras with me anyway during those times. So, a lot of the Kiss Army stuff, you know, I probably should have done a better job of documenting, but I couldn't. So, you know, it is what it is.
Bill, we've heard Kiss's version of your story so many times, of course. I don't know if I've ever actually heard the story come from you. I'm sure it's different.
From
I'm
the
sure it's
man
not,
himself.
it might not be as Hollywood as Kiss, but give us your version of the beginnings of the Kiss Army.
I was asked this by the guy at the A&E documentary, and because he heard Paul talk about it, and I told somebody else too after the show. I said, honest to God, we have never sat down one on one, any of us, and discussed it. I think one time Gene asked me for a picture of the kids surrounding the radio station, and I just politely told him, I don't know what picture you're talking about because that doesn't exist.
Oh,
And Gene looked at me like, it does, and I'm like, you just don't tell him you don't have it, all right? And I just said it doesn't exist. And somehow I changed the subject or whatever after that. Here's what I have to say about that, and this covers all the bases. Yes, the kids did surround the radio station, but that was only after Kiss was in the radio station, down in the basement, playing disc jockey, because that was a whole part of the appeasement of when they came to Terre Haute that day. We met him at the airport. The United States Army gave him a parade down Wabash Avenue very fast, and it was not unknown to a lot of the radio listeners of WBTS that Kiss was going to be there at this ranch house in West Terre Haute, and we had a lot of pictures taken. I mean, a guy that did an article on me the other day from the Indiana Business Journal, he was fascinated with the picture of me in the fire truck with Kiss, and he said, why did they do that? And I said, well, because of the firehouse, hotter than hell. And he said, well, do you know anything about the firemen? And I said, no, I think one of them's passed on, but his kids tried to contact me and all that. I said, it was just one of those spontaneous things where they're grabbing you and they're telling you, you pose for here, you do this. And somebody said, well, what happened about that crazy hat they put on your head? And I said, that was a coin's doing. I said, I didn't own a Army helmet or anything like that. So that was the closest thing they had was a construction helmet. So kids did surround the radio station, but because Kiss was in the radio station. So they were. I mean, there was practically a couple hundred around there too. And I just, people said to Starkey, it's a lot of balls for you to stay by that story. But I have to be faithful to my co-founder Jay Evans, and we've always agreed that we were always gonna tell it like it was, and it just because we have to, because so to us, I like the way one Terre Haute writer he said the Kiss Army was a lot like Chinese water torture. It was something that was done over many weeks and months to get their way through the radio station. And I was telling one of the guys that some of the tricks that the radio station used to do to piss us off was they'd play Love Theme from Kiss leading up to like the news, and then we'd call the station to complain, because that's what you did with the request line, and they'd laugh at us and say, well, you wanted a Kiss song. Or they really, I think the other thing that would really bug us is they would play the typical stuff they would play, like the Aerosmith, Leonard Skinner stuff, and then they'd slip Strutter in there, but they wouldn't say who it was. And then we would call in again and say, hey, okay, you played something, but you didn't say who it was. And again, they'd say, and to this day, we were told it was all in good fun, and it probably was. And they let us on for several months, and somebody asked me, said, well, did you really write threatening letters? And I said, yeah, we did, but who's to say if they knew if we were real or not? I mean, we were cutting up pictures of Cream magazine with, Kiss and the pyro stuff on that we could find, and saying, we would burn the station up. And then when it got really crazy, we would say that, Kiss was better than the Beatles, and Kiss was better than Zeppelin and all that. And we were really hitting it home. And we were just having a lot of fun in my basement. I mean, I didn't have a job. Jay was getting ready to go to college, and here was my basement. What else are we going to do? It's like Wayne and Garth. But Jay was doing cool stuff too. Like, he got a Radio Shack 8-track, and he was making blank. He was putting together Kiss set lists for people and just passed them out like sandwiches. Hey, here's Kiss. We like these guys, and at the same time, we were catching crap from our kids and our fellow high school people because you wore your band's T-shirt to school like you would a sports jersey.
Oh, yeah.
And at that time, there were no Kiss shirts. Everybody had the Leonard Skinner, the Aerosmith stuff. And so, a cool guy by the name of Rob Smith went in our print shop and he made our own Kiss shirt. So I brag and say that, we made the first mass-produced Kiss shirt. And then we've got a couple pictures of it that we posted in the men's bathroom at Terre Haute in North Vigo. And, of course, we get the same response, Kiss my ass. Or the one that would really hurt the most was, if they're so good, Starkey, why aren't they on the radio?
Of course.
And what do you say? And again, that was what motivated Jay and I more to, get the Army going. And then eventually Jay I saw him twice. And Jay and I went for the third show. Oddly and ironically enough, that was in Indianapolis. But then we took a whole bunch of kids with us, like 2 other carloads of curious people. And I guess by then, I guess you could say the seeds of the Kiss Army were pretty much sowed by April. And those same people, I've been told, also called the radio station and monitored things to make sure Kiss was getting played. And then when Kiss Alive, and see, this is where this is why I don't pat myself on the back, because we were so lucky because in September Kiss Alive came out, and then WBTS was kind of forced to say, hey, maybe we were wrong about these guys. And so they call me and say, can you bring over your albums? And I said, why? And they said, well, Rich threw them away, the original ones, and they admitted it. They admitted it. They threw their Kiss. They couldn't play the Kiss because they were thrown away. And so here I am with no job, no car, no anything. And I say, hey, Mom, can I borrow the car? And she says, why? And I said, I got to take my Kiss records over to the radio station. And she'd say, you and that Kiss stuff again, And
incredible.
Yeah, well, and then can you imagine how she felt when she went to the show, 2 months later in Holman Center, and they called me up on stage? She was just blown away.
Wow.
I mean, when I came home, she had made a banner in my bedroom. I mean, she had believed me then, because I said, Kiss was going to come and they were going to sell out. And at that time, the only person that had sold out was Elvis, and she was at that show. All the other bands didn't sell out. The Bostons, the Aerosmiths, Chicago Doobie Brothers. And that's why I tell people that's how we got recognition, was when Coin Management found out the band sold out. They were smart enough to say, what's going on here that the other bands didn't sell out? And WBTS says that it was these 2 kids calling themselves the Kiss Army. And they've been badgering us for like 6 months, and that was it. They said, we need to talk to these guys. And then when they told me Kiss wanted to meet us, I really wasn't sure I wanted to meet Kiss, because to me, they were like, ugh. It's like, you want to meet Marilyn Manson or somebody? I don't know. But to me, they come off really, I didn't want to meet Kiss. It wasn't an objective. We just thought that they deserved a fair shake, and we still do.
Just a magical time to not only
Man.
your story, but hearing from a Kiss fan like yourself that started this Kiss Army from the time before Kiss. Again, because when I became a Kiss fan, I'm a little younger. I became a Kiss fan in 1979, and they were already the biggest thing in the world. So hearing stories about before they were that mega band, bigger than life band, and having people like you really push for them, where they were a little bit maybe the outcasts and they weren't getting played on the radio and no one cared about Kiss and they weren't selling out. And then you being that catalyst for all that, especially in your area and your demographic, and then seeing them, you almost took that journey with them. It must be an incredible feeling to be part of that and go along that journey with them to superstardom.
I just tell people that I was very lucky, because if you look at it, I saw them. This is the timeline. I saw them opening up December of '74, and they were the second band on the thing with ZZ Top. And then I saw them play last to REO Speedwagon and a bunch of other bands 3 weeks later. They're their opening acts. In April, 4 or 5 months after that, they do their first headlining, and they do that with Rush, and it was a decent crowd, not a great crowd. This is April of '75. Well, think about it. Then all the way Kiss Alive comes out in September of '75. They come to Terre Haute and sell out, and after that, it was just gone. I mean, they were selling. I mean, that was it. I've never seen a band, and probably never will see a band rise in that prominence in that way. I mean, that fast. And I was just along for the ride. Like I tell people, I was just really lucky. Who knows? If Kiss Alive had not come out, maybe we would never had any of this. We wouldn't be talking. I mean, it was just amazing that the timeline and the chain of events and everything that how it came into play. So I just happened to be along for the ride, and I'll never trade it for anything. I don't care. I mean, there's a lot of people I know that the guy that took me to the show, he was a big '80s fan, and he has some great memories of seeing Eric Carr and Bruce and those guys, and that's fantastic. But I always tell these guys, I'll never trade anything you guys did for my deal, because I was just happy what I saw.
So you're a school teacher?
Yeah, going to work tomorrow, man.
Yeah. So all right, I knew you were a school teacher. So does Kiss ever come up in class? Like, did a kid ever come in wearing a T-shirt and you went, do they know about your history?
Well, the fun thing is, I've seen, I'm in an urban school district, and it's always very funny to see the black kids come in with Kiss shirts, and they're usually girls. And I always inquire and say, do you know what that is or what is? And it's just that they're intrigued by the visual. I mean, and who would have thought, But I've had a couple students, and I wanted to take their pictures and put them up on my Facebook, but there's privacy things with minors, and I just don't want to go that.
Sure.
But I wanted to just show people, say, look what she wore at school there. She has no idea. Now, all my kids have phones these days, and they all have their laptops, and it's not uncommon to Google something. Well, it always takes one kid to Google Mr. Starkey, and then they find they'll see my YouTube stuff. And one of the kids asked me one time, I said, well, did you listen to any of the things what I had to say? And he says, no. He says, one of them's like an hour and a half. I thought, I mean, I'm sorry, but that's how long the interview went. And another kid said, and this was the older kids, but then the younger kid, I remember he said something about, he said, these guys are cool. They have their own coffins. And I told my brother that, and my brother said, he goes, wait till they find out they have their own coffin or their own condoms too, because you'll probably be called in the office. But the last thing I'm going to say about the school thing is, and this is my favorite line, is when a couple kids will get together and they'll say, Mr. Starkey knows Kiss. And I'll say, no, Kiss knows Mr. Starkey.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's terrific. That's terrific. So there's absolutely no chance you're going to be in New York.
No.
Boo.
No. I got my New York last night. That was my New York.
That's great.
Okay.
I have that
that's
in my
fine.
mind, and I think that's what New York's going to get, and good for them, because it's great. So,
will you be watching the pay-per-view?
I don't know yet. I don't know. If I would, it would be with the guy that took me to the show yesterday, but he's going to be there. So that's my answer to that. So,
yeah, the three of us will be there too, Bill.
That's like
really?
my Knoxville was supposed to be my last show. And
Oh,
it got
Lee, that
canceled.
was
And I was
terrible.
so heartbroken. And I'm like, no, I got to go to New York.
Yeah. I feel bad for Knoxville, because I was one of those people that I was reading everything just as intensely as you guys were doing, because I was going to know how that would affect my show. So when Knoxville
Right.
got canceled, I really thought Indy was going to be canceled too. I was so shocked
Right.
when it wasn't. And who
I
knows?
thought maybe all of them up to New York might be
Yeah.
canceled, to be sure he was recovered for those important, New York, the last shows are so hyped and everything.
Well, let me tell you, he pretty damn well recovered last
Great.
night. And
Did he have any voice issue, like
No.
phlegm or anything?
No. and I hear all this crap about, they say, well, his voice isn't what it used to be. But to me, it's good enough. He knows his limits, and it was great for me. I mean, like I said, I just thought there might have been a few guitar parts that maybe a little, were a little off or out of tune, kind of. But I expect that in a high end, high energy metal show. There's going to be. I mean, that's
Sure.
that's why it's live.
Yeah.
So
Then you know it's live.
yeah, it's live. You know damn well it's live. And like I said, I don't have a pony in the show or anything. I went there saying, well, it's like the one time I saw Bruce Springsteen. Like I said, okay, impress me. And then you go, okay, wow, you did do everything everybody said you would do, and that's what happened. They dotted all the I's.
Any predictions? You think anything special will happen on December 2nd? You think the very last bow will be anything different than it was at your show?
No, I really don't. But I know there's not going to be an opening act, from what I gather in New York. So maybe that might have something to do with why something else might happen. But I just don't see anything changing. I don't think it's in it for Peter to want to do it. And Ace just keeps sticking his, I don't know. Ace keeps saying stuff that like, oh man, you can't say that and expect to get, up on stage with those guys. I mean, what are you thinking? So
I was praying Peter would come out and sing Beth. That would be just, people would go
Lee, I'm with you.
Just bring the stool out. Peter, people would go berserk.
They would. And I think he would like it too.
I mean, so too.
If I knew Peter and I would say, this is Bill, and I would give it a shot. It's not really for the monetary thing. It's right. What the fans remember and what you want the fans to remember, instead of the fans thinking, well, it could have and should have been, but it wasn't. So.
And it seems like Peter's been really not vocal about it. He's just a sweet guy. He hasn't,
Peter doing Beth would be the only logical thing, that only because of the makeup, because I don't think Peter or Ace want to be on stage with Tommy and Eric in the makeup. They definitely won't wear the makeup themselves. So Peter coming out, no makeup, to do Beth, and taking the bow at the end would be the only thing that I could possibly see happening. But I don't think anything's going to happen either.
And can you imagine? This is just stupid Bill thinking about weird Kiss stuff. Can you imagine Bruce getting to play any of the 80s stuff and just, Tommy being in the background? Bruce doesn't have to paint up or whatever. I mean,
that would be cool.
That's just me thinking, adding your Peter thing, adding Bruce thing. I guess this is just a stupid Kiss fans' fantasies,
We were hoping for the same, so.
I would love
and I still think, I would love to see Ace get up there and probably do New York Groove and shock me, and then just bow. And I bet, I don't know if it's true or not, but I guess Ace's deal is he doesn't want to be up there with other people in his makeup.
Yes.
I'll say this right. Fuck the makeup. I don't care if none of them have the makeup on. It's like the Unplugged thing for me,
Agreed.
They're all together and they're all sharing vocals and they're all,
it could be so beautiful.
Yeah, I don't need a full show with everyone, but everyone out for Rock and Roll All Night would be something special.
Yeah.
Confetti going down and all of them taking the last bow, Bruce included.
Yeah.
It would be something. It would be the way to go out.
Epic.
Right. And that's when we would all be stunned the next morning and go, can you believe they did that?
Right.
Because they had it in, they could have really just surprised us incredibly. But it is what it is. Yep. And, like I said, what I saw last night was great. I don't think anybody will be dissatisfied. And we can fantasize, can't we? I mean, all right.
We
can.
For a couple more days at least.
Because I respect the originals, and but I understand the divisions too. I understand it's what's Paul's one line? He goes, we couldn't have made it with them, and we probably wouldn't be here with them. And I can see that, because there were some shows during the reunion tour in the 90s that did not live up to the expectations as far as I was concerned. And Paul and Gene would probably agree with me.
Bill, I know this is going to surprise a lot of people that are watching when I say that I tend to be the type of person that holds a grudge for a very long time. And I know that's shocking, but it's absolutely true. And but my thing is something that I wanted to ask you was, were you ever sitting in your room when Kiss was blowing up and going, I was right, I was right, I was right. They were wrong, I was right. Screw them. They picked on me. I was right. Did that ever happen, or did anybody ever actually come to you? No?
No, and I admit that there were times that we were divided, and I was not the fan that I was or I am now, but I was always proud of what I was able to be with and what they became. I just, like I said, when the solo albums came out, I just wasn't really thrilled about that, because I thought, well, this acts like the band's going to disband, because they all now think that there were 4 individuals instead of Kiss. And then once other members left, and then good God, when the makeup went off, I was totally shaking my head. But through my life, people would come up to me, and they were always younger people, and they'd say, hey, have you heard the Kiss Hot in the Shade or whatever? And I said, well, no, why? And they'd say, you should give that a shot. I know you're the Kiss guy. And I said, so I was always connected with it. So it was never, I don't think I ever said, they should have, maybe that's the way I felt about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame thing, that they should have played, but I also understood why it didn't happen. But when I look back and I see other bands and it worked for them, it makes me, kick the sofa and say, dang it, it worked for them, maybe it would have worked for us. But again, I don't blame anybody for, like I said, the last time I saw Ace, he didn't quite live up to my Ace expectations. So who knows? You want to take that gamble? I understand why Paul has this, he has this drive, because what I saw last night, it was pretty much to perfection. So, and that's some funny that Tommy and Eric and Gene and all of them, it was like they were one fine-tuned machine. So, and they've over the years have become that now. So
sure, yeah,
give them credit. But no, I've never had that feeling that they were wrong and I was right. And even people would tease me, and they say, well, the Kiss Army could have been in Terre Haute. And I said, yeah, but I was 18 years old and right out of high school. And then I can imagine how crazy it would have been for them to run this up and coming fantastic fan club with a kid who didn't know jack shit about business, so what do you do? And plus, Kiss will fire people. And it would probably been only a matter of time for, hey, I know he started the Kiss Army. Get his ass out of here. We're moving the fan club to LA, And,
if you go to, and I know this would be tough for people to do, but you mentioned the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I did a show. We did a show about it back when they got announced that they were going to be in. And I remember saying, there's only one person that should be inducting them into the Hall of Fame, and that's Bill Starkey. That's what I said. Mm-hmm. And I really felt like now don't get me wrong. How it went down was beautiful. It was the story, the story was great. And the guy what's his name?
Tom Morello.
Yeah. Oh. He's obviously a huge Kiss fan, but I always felt like they were, and obviously, I just felt like one of the guys that was helping them, along, because you did, no matter how small or big you might, think it is, you're a very humble person. So you're, in your mind, you might be going, I was only a little bit, but to me, I believe it's huge. Kiss Army. If nobody ever says the words Kiss Army, and you and your friends did that, we wouldn't have had the Kiss Army. Would have had, something else, because they're not the type of people not to have a. But I remember saying on that show, Bill Starkey needs to be the guy that inducts them. Do you think you could have handled that if they would have told you?
No.
I think if you guys know me, I really don't believe that I'm an in-your-face kind of person.
You're
I think
private.
I'm more of in the background kind of guy. I know the whole Kiss Army story sounds real radical and bizarre and all that, and forceful. But I think most people that have met me, they always say, you're really kind of more, more pious maybe or something, and maybe I don't even live up to the expectations of the leadership. And I think I don't know that anybody could have done it better than Tom Morello did it. I mean, it was a great lot. What was ever was written was phenomenal, and it was just great. I couldn't live up to anything like that. Again, it's just not my personality. I don't think. I mean, I know you think of that when we went after the radio station, but me either or Jay, either one, we just don't have those kind of personalities. That's just it. I mean, I'm totally flattered, Joe, that you would think that. But I also wasn't real happy with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame anyway, because it had taken so many freaking years. So
Yes.
I mean, to even acknowledge it at the time. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm glad they're there and all that, and they're there because of the fans. But I was so insulted that it took so long.
Yeah.
I didn't really know how to take it. So, but I'm not like one of those people that, hold it against the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, years after all that. If anything, I'd like to see, now this I would do. I would like to see the Kiss Army inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with the band as a fan club, as it is, like with the merchandise and
Yeah.
stories about amazing Kiss fans that I've met from all over the world and the things they've done. I mean, people I talked to, that was their 100th Kiss show or whatever. I mean, that's what I would like to see. A Kiss Army thing where they would nominate. I mean, because to me, it's one of the most incredible fan clubs to go along with any band, and I would like to see that representation in the hall. I would also like to see my own hometown, Terre Haute, put up a monument like Cadillac has, at least right outside Holman Center. Right now, the only thing they've got up there, and rightfully so, is the one for Larry Bird, because Larry Bird was a legend, and he packed that place for many years when he played for the United States Sycamores. And I just think, though, that I have people that contact me randomly, and they'll say, "Hey, Starkey, I'm on this business trip between here and Atlanta. I happen to be having a stopover in Terre Haute. Can you tell me where the radio station is?" I'm like, what the hell? And this might be 5 o'clock in the evening, and I'm like trying to explain, well, you have to go out to here and you cross a bridge and over there, and it's a ranch house, and then they'll say, well, where's the radio? Where's Holman Center at, or where's the airport? I said, well, those are kind of easy to find because Terre Haute's pretty small, but it just kills me when these people call them like they're wanting to like a tour of Terre Haute. It's
So the little radio station is still there?
no, it is there. It was a ranch house when it was a radio station, and it is somebody's home now.
Wow.
Oh,
And
wow.
Yes, and when WTHI did the 35th anniversary of the Kiss Army, you'll find this on my YouTube channel. When we did the 35th anniversary, that was one of my goals, was to go out to the radio station with the camera crew, and we were going to talk to the homeowners. And so I brought out my Kiss scrapbook, and we talked about that. And the funny thing was, I showed the lady, I said, look, Kiss was in your basement.
Ooh.
And she laughed and said, well, the ceiling tiles are still the same. And her husband was one of the people that was outside when Kiss was in. He was one of those people that was surrounding the station, mind you.
Wow.
Yes, so he did. But
Right.
the funny thing is, the guy said he was always an Aerosmith fan.
Oh,
I
man.
said, okay, to each his own.
In
And,
the end, still no
So
respect.
yeah, so an Aerosmith fan is living in the home of where the Kiss Army radio station WBTS once resided.
Did he know that was the house that he bought?
Yeah,
Oh,
he was one of the
oh,
people
yeah.
that surrounded it.
Yeah, I
I'm
know, but
sorry?
did he know when he bought it that was...
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, I think he knew it was WBTS. Yeah, and
That's crazy.
That is
So
well,
crazy.
it's crazy when, like, I think there were some VH1 specials when the band was talking about Kiss Army and fans like that, and you'd see a bunch of kids screaming outside a building, and people would ask me, they say, "Was that WBTS?" They said, "No, that's just something they pulled out somewhere." I said, not be real thrilled if you saw what WBTS was, because it's not what you would consider. You know, I mean, and I've like I said, it's just bizarre, but it's just funny how legends go and all that. I think, as a matter of fact, when we went out there in for the 2013 thing, I think we even saw some chickens running around the place.
Oh,
Very, very Terre Haute, you know.
awesome.
So,
That's
Bill,
crazy.
there's no better person to ask this question to, the founder of the Kiss Army. Now that Kiss is coming to an end next week, what does the Kiss Army do?
Yeah, what do we do?
Wow.
We
I
have,
guess
we have no war to fight. What do we do?
I guess we
Tell
wait
us,
for the
oh leader.
next orders, I guess, because I think this is what's really weird is, there's been dead times with the band, and I've been lucky to be a part of some really tremendous Kiss expos, and
Right.
it never surprises me how Kiss fans can get together from all different eras and still have a good time.
Yep.
So
We love the hang.
yeah, I think that some things will fill the void, I'm sure. I really don't think that you're going to see Kiss 2.0. I know the band talks about that, but I mean, there's already Mr. Speed's out there, and they're pretty damn good. So, I mean, I don't know, but I'm sure that there'll be something going on, because I don't know. I mean, I laughed. I thought one of the things I thought would be neat is if Kiss did something on Broadway, because I always thought the songs were pretty cool, and you could see I could see different interpretations of songs, and that kind of stuff, and maybe a Broadway musical of Kiss from their history. Now, I've had people tease me and say that they not Kiss fans, they weren't Kiss fans, but they enjoyed some of my interviews on my channel, and they said that they knew some people at Netflix and said that the Kiss Army stories are pretty entertaining, even if you're not a Kiss fan, because I talk about the stupid stuff we did, and like when J.R. Smalling told me to pick up girls and I couldn't do it, and when they told me you were going to meet Kiss, I didn't really want to meet him because they were just too strange, and they said so who knows? But I mean, Netflix is looking for content. Let's do a Kiss Army story,
That's interesting. All right. So listen, here we are at the end. Bill, thank you very much for being. I have one last question. How long do you think the spacing will be between the lights going out for the final show and us finding out what's next for the band? 6 months, a year, a week later? Do you think that they're going to even say
6 months?
6 months.
6 months. Gene is a very ambitious dude.
I was gonna say.
I think though that he really wants to take a breather, but I guarantee you he's got something up his sleeve, and
Oh yeah.
I'm sure Paul will go along with it. So who knows? I mean, like I said, they were doing a documentary. I didn't know about that yesterday. So,
well, that is great to hear. That is great to hear. Maybe we'll be lucky enough to. That might just be the next thing. So we'll have to wait. Bill, thank you very much for being here. We absolutely appreciate it. I honestly, you've been on the show with me maybe 4 times, a couple of times when we had the radio show, and you're always eager to come on and talk Kiss with me and anybody that, and us, and man, we really do appreciate it. You go ahead and get some rest, and we'll talk to you soon, buddy.
all right.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you. He's great. I mean,
Awesome.
like,
Great.
serious.
He's such a sweetheart.
He is very nice man, and
Yes.
I've never heard anybody say a single negative thing about him. He's just so
always been nice
friendly,
when I
and
met him, yeah. I met him in some expos.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it was
nice.
yeah, one of those things. It's like I made sure I got him to sign my my
History.
box set.
Oh, your box.
My box set, yeah, because I always felt like he was a big part of it. And anybody that denies that he is, I mean, he even is like, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? But it's
He's
to
very
me,
humble.
I
He's
don't.
very humble.
To me, it's undeniable. So thank you guys for watching. Lee and Joey and I will all be in New York this weekend to see the final Kiss show. Joey will be on Thursday. If you're in town, Joey, tell them what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. ZO2 just released, my band ZO2 just released a new record. It's technically not out until December 5th, but we're doing a CD release party out at 89 North in Long Island. It's about 45 minutes from the city. If anyone's in town early, come check it out. I'll be there. Joe will be there jamming. We're doing a full Kiss jam after the show. Lots of big musicians coming down. Matt Starr, guys from TSO, tons of really cool musicians just jamming on Kiss songs all night. Come out and spend it with us. But I think the three of us will also be hopping around some Kiss pre and post parties on the 2nd. If you guys have anything fun happening, shoot me a message on Instagram or Facebook. Let us know where you're going to be, and we'll all try to hang out.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to decide, guys. Makeup for the show or no makeup?
Dang,
That's
Lee,
up to
that's
you.
a tough one. But you wouldn't bring the whole costume, would you? Just put the
No,
makeup
my
on?
feet hurt too bad. I can't do that. But the makeup.
I don't know.
My last show.
It just seems like you have to do the makeup.
Kinda
We're getting ready to go over to Patreon, and we're going to do a little bit of extra show for you guys that are on Patreon. You can join our Patreon, and for 7 days it's free, and you can check it out. Now, we were going to do something for the Knoxville show, but that got canceled. So I guess if you join now, if you join our Patreon tonight, it'll get you the free service all the way through us being in New York and seeing the show. So anything we post on Patreon, you'll get to see, and it'll be free. So patreon.com. Joe, you have anything to add?
Nope, that's it. I'll hope to see everyone next Saturday in New York City to celebrate the end.
Absolutely. Lee?
Yes, New York City. I saw a bunch of people in the chat are coming. Come say hi to us.
Yes,
Yeah,
find us. Come hang out.
Yes, absolutely. You know what I'm going to say? We love Kiss, and we love Kiss podcasts. And you know, and you're going to hear the commercials for all the ones that we love right after this. In 3, 2, 1, peace.